talk about Suboxone in total, you know, the half-life of it, kind of how it works, and the withdrawals of it, and how to taper off it. Because I don't really see this information. We'll start with the tapering off of it. We'll kind of go backwards. So the tapering off of it, a lot of people go, if they're on 8 milligrams Suboxone, they'll go from 8 milligrams Suboxone for 2 weeks or a week or whatever their timeline is. Everybody's bodies is different. I don't care what a textbook says. When I was in paramedic school, it always said treat the patient. Just because their vital signs are adequate and textbook adequate doesn't mean it is for that person to perfuse and function. Okay, guys? So when you're tapering 8 milligrams for however long, 4, 2, and then when you start getting down to the low doses like 1, instead of a 24-hour period, stretch it out to a 48-hour period. How much do I take in a 48-hour period? So we're week 1. We're taking 1 milligram. 1 milligram, day 1. 1 milligram, day 2. And we alternate back to day 1. 1 milligram, day 2. 1 milligram. So 1 milligram every day. And then the next week, so day 1 is 1 milligram. Okay? Instead of going from 1 and then half for the next week, we go 1. And then day 2, we go 0.5. We go half of that 1. And then we go back to day 1, which is going to be 1 milligram. And then we'll go to day 2, which is 0.5. And then we'll go to the next week. It'll be 0.5 milligrams day 1, 0.5 milligrams day 2. Then we'll go to the next week. How much am I taking in a 48-hour period, not a 24-hour period? We'll go 0.5 milligrams. Day 2, we'll go 0.25 milligrams. Day 1, 0.5. Day 2, 0.25 milligrams. We'll go to the next week. 0.25 milligrams straight across the board. We'll go to the next week. We're going to start alternating. So now we're going to go 0.25 to 0. So 0.25 day 1, 0 day 2. Day 1, 0.25, 0, day 2, 0 milligrams. Then, instead of just abruptly stopping altogether, we'll go to the next week, and we'll add 3 days. How much can I take in a 72-hour period? This is the best way to reduce the withdrawal symptoms that you're going to suffer. So your 0.25, day 2, you take 0. Day 3, you're going to take another 0. But then we'll go back to day 1 and we'll take that 0.25, and they'll have another 2-day break of taking nothing. So instead of just stopping altogether from 0.25 all week long and then just completely stopping, we're going to take it every 2 days, right? So that's the best way to taper off Suboxone. So if anybody has any questions, leave the comments. I'm sure this ain't going to be the best video, but I'm just sitting here making this because, I never really found any of this information online when I was looking. And this is actually really good information. So, what is Suboxone? We all know it's a partial opiate agonist. It acts on the mu receptors, but, not as potent as fentanyl, Demerol, Dilaudid, all the good shit, basically. Heroin, black tar heroin, anything like that. Oxycodones. But buprenorphine has a higher affinity than most other opioids. What does that mean, a higher affinity? Basically a higher attraction to the mu receptors than all the other opioids, like Narcan does. Narcan is a competitive antagonist, which means it competitively will fight for that receptor site no matter what's on it. It will fight it off that receptor and it will attach to it, and that's why you will go into those withdrawals, precipitated withdrawals. What does buprenorphine do? It has a high affinity too, so it'll attach to those mu receptors. Let's say the Narcan has a quicker half-life, so it's already out of your system by, I don't know, let's just say 10 hours, most of it's out of your system, right? Because that's about a 2-hour half-life. So, okay, now you just got buprenorphine attached. Okay? Buprenorphine is now on that mu receptor, so you can inject heroin, fentanyl, whatever, and you're not going to feel as much of a high because a lot of your receptors are already taken up by buprenorphine, and that fentanyl is not going to push that buprenorphine off, and that heroin is not going to push it off the receptor either. When it's on there, it's on there. Okay, there still might be some available receptors and you'll get a partial high, but it's not going to completely push it off. People are going to say, no, I've taken an ungodly amount of this and I still got high. Well, you still have the buprenorphine on your receptors. They never got pushed off. you just occupied all the receptors that were open. And the half-life of Suboxone, it's like 24 to 37 hours. I think sublingual it's even longer than other administrative routes. So, like, what is a half-life really? Okay, so let's say we're taking 8 milligrams. So, let's just say 24 hours, make it easy. So 8 milligrams in 24 hours. After 24 hours, after taking the 8 milligrams, half of it's out. So in 24 hours, you're at 4 milligrams in the bloodstream. Okay? In another 24 hours, it's half of that. So half of 4 would be 2. So 48 hours, we're down to 2. We were at 8, now we're at 2 after 48 hours. Another 24 hours passes, we're down to 1. How many half-lives does it take? Because if we keep cutting it in half, we'll never get to 0. It'll just keep getting cut in half into small decimal numbers. But after about 5.5 half-lives, the medication is fully eliminated out of your system, out of your bloodstream. It's still in your body, still be metabolized. It's still in the kidneys, as a waste. It's still in your fecal matter, your saliva, your hair follicles, everything in your body. It's just not in the bloodstream, guys. And that's what the half-life's referring to. How long is it actively in the bloodstream? Okay? Because you could piss this stuff out, 14 days down the road after heavy use, and it's not. It's not. You're not high from it. You're not feeling anything from it. It's in your body. Not in your bloodstream, it's in your body. So, after 5 half-lives, it's out of your system completely. So you got 8 milligrams, 24 hours, you're at 4 milligrams. Another 24 hours, 2. Another 24 hours, take that in half. Half of that half, right? So we're at 8. And now we're at 4. So it's not another 4 milligrams in 48 hours. So when you half that number, 8 to 4, after the next 24 hours, you half it again. You don't keep taking the same amount off. It's not 8 milligrams and then the half-life. Oh, what's half of 8? Oh, it's 4. So we take off 4 for 5 times. No, that's not how it works. Otherwise, it'd be out of your system in 2 days. And that's just not how it works. 8 milligrams, 4 milligrams, 2 milligrams, 1 milligrams, 0.5 milligrams, and then 0.25 milligrams in another 24 hours. So in about 5-6 days, it's completely out of your bloodstream. If you were just to pop one pill one time, but after consecutive use and it continues to build up in your bloodstream, obviously, whenever you quit, it's going to take a little bit longer for it to leave the receptors. The withdrawals from these things are terrible, guys. I mean, they're absolutely ungodly. If you're even watching this video, you've probably experienced withdrawals, unless you're just a curious family member. They're god-awful. You will get restless legs, which is my least favorite thing out of any of the thing in the withdrawals. I'll take the sneezing 12 times consecutively in a row. I'll take yawning every 5 seconds. I will take all that stuff. You'll get chills. You'll feel like you're crawling out of your skin. You'll get insomnia, which sucks because you can't even sleep through any of this restless legs. You could take a hot shower and, if your restless legs aren't bad enough, they'll go away for 15 minutes. I mean, you might be able to lay there and doze off for 15 minutes, but you ain't sleeping through any of this. So if you're lucky, for 14 days, you're done. You haven't slept through a wink of it. Okay? I mean, you don't even feel tired either. I mean, it's hard to describe. It's like you don't get tired, when you're going through opiate withdrawals. It's the craziest thing. I really hope this video helped. I just kind of want to give a brief synopsis overview. What is Suboxone? How to taper off Suboxone? How long does Suboxone last in the system? But I could have probably done a more thorough video, but there's not really too much good information out there, and I hope y'all learned a little bit of the basics about buprenorphine, naloxone, or Suboxone. If y'all have any questions, just put them in the comments. I'd be glad to help to answer those questions.